By 9 in the morning, you've already lost an argument that never happened, forgiven an apology nobody offered, and quietly decided a friendship is basically over based on nothing except a feeling you picked up somewhere around your second cup of coffee. None of it was real yet. All of it felt real. And there's a specific kind of tired that has nothing to do with what you actually did today. It comes from everything you built instead, on a site nobody asked you to break ground on. The coffee's still warm. The day hasn't even properly started. Traffic hasn't tested you yet. Your inbox hasn't said a single unkind word, and somehow you're already carrying the emotional weight of a small war. You could probably list the casualties if pressed. A friendship you've downgraded in your head. A decision you're still defending to nobody. A version of next month that already feels like it went badly, even though next month hasn't opened for business yet. Nobody handed you these problems. Nobody called with bad news, sent the cutting email, ended the relationship, or told you that you're falling behind. This actual day, the one currently happening around you, hasn't asked you to carry any of it. And yet, by the time you've brushed your teeth, you're exhausted by a week's worth of conflict that took place entirely in a room only you have access to. There's a word for this, sort of. Overthinking, people call it, which is polite and a little dismissive at once, like calling a house fire a warm evening. What's actually happening is bigger than the word suggests. Your mind isn't just thinking too much. It's manufacturing entire situations complete with dialogue, consequences, and a verdict, and then reacting to the verdict as though the trial actually took place. Scroll back through the last hour in your head, and you'll probably find 2 or 3 of these storylines already running at once. One about a text, one about a comment your mother made last weekend that you're still turning over. Maybe one about a decision you made months ago that you're now relitigating for no clear reason. None of them are new information. You're just reopening cases that were never actually filed. Somewhere behind your ribs, there's a contractor who never stopped working. Nobody hired this contractor. Nobody signed off on the blueprints. But every day, on a site you can't see, something gets built: an argument, a rejection, a disaster, a grudge, usually out of one small piece of material. A pause, a tone, a sentence someone said in 2019 that you're apparently still laying bricks on top of. This isn't a character flaw. Whatever your own mind might be muttering about that right now. Capable people are often especially good at this, because building things is exactly what they're good at. You take one fact, a short reply, a delayed payment, a look someone gave you across a room, and your very competent brain does what competent brains do. It starts constructing. Cause, motive, consequence, a whole narrative with a beginning and an end, usually starring you as either the villain or the victim, occasionally both in the same afternoon. It's an impressive skill, honestly. It's just aimed at the wrong target most of the time. You've probably been rewarded for this kind of thinking your whole life. Anticipate the problem before it happens. That's what gets you praised at work. That's what makes you the reliable one in the family. The one who thinks 3 steps ahead so nobody else has to. Maybe you're the one who double-checks the itinerary, remembers the anniversary, notices the tension in a room before anyone says a word. Useful. Genuinely useful. Right up until the same machinery starts running at 11 at night with nothing real to chew on. So it starts chewing on you instead. Think of the person at work everyone relies on to spot the problem before it becomes a problem. The one who reads a client's one-line email and already has 3 contingency plans ready before lunch. That's a genuinely valuable skill. Right up until it comes home and starts applying the same 3 contingency plan treatment to a text from their teenager that just says K. You'll feel it in strange places. A tightness across the top of your stomach before you've even opened the email. A conversation rehearsed so many times in the shower that your actual voice starts to shake a little over a discussion that hasn't happened yet and might never need to. Or it's 2 in the morning and you're lying very still, staring at a ceiling you've memorized, running the same 3 sentences through your head in slightly different orders, as if the right arrangement of words might finally let you put the whole thing down. It won't. There isn't a right arrangement. There's just you and the ceiling, and a conversation that isn't scheduled to happen for another 11 days, if it happens at all. You'll notice you've read the same paragraph of a book 4 times without absorbing a word of it, because some invisible construction site is still running in the background, drilling. If you actually added up the hours, real honest hours, spent this month on problems life handed you versus problems you built yourself, the second number would probably be bigger. Not because your real problems are small, because the manufactured ones are in unlimited supply, and they're open 24 hours, including at 3 in the morning, when absolutely nothing else is. It leaks into how you treat people too. You'll find yourself a little cold towards someone who did absolutely nothing wrong, because you already had the argument with them last night in your head, and as far as your nervous system is concerned, you're still a bit angry. They'll have no idea why. Honestly, you'll barely know why yourself. From the outside, none of this looks like anything. You still make it to the meeting. You still remember to pick up milk. Nobody can see the second job you've been quietly working since 6 a.m. Foreman, judge, and defendant, all before your actual workday even starts. This doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means you have a mind that's very good at its job, currently pointed in a direction that isn't helping. To be clear, some problems are real, and pretending otherwise would be its own kind of dishonesty. Bills are real. Illness is real. A relationship that's actually struggling is real, and no amount of reframing makes any of that lighter to carry. This isn't a case for pretending your life is easier than it is. But look closely at an average Tuesday, and you'll usually find 2 separate piles. One pile is what your actual life today has handed you: a deadline, a bill, a conversation you genuinely do need to have. The other pile is what you built on your own time, out of your own materials, without a single order from reality. Most people never sort the two. They just feel the combined weight and call all of it stress, as if it's one thing, one size, one cause. Here's the strange part. Your body can't tell the difference between the 2 piles. A manufactured conflict with your sister that exists only in your head produces roughly the same tight chest as an actual fight with her would. Your nervous system doesn't check whether something's confirmed. It only checks whether it feels dangerous, and a sufficiently detailed imagination is more than capable of feeling dangerous. There's a reason for this, and Buddhist teaching has a fairly direct way of naming it. A lot of what turns a neutral fact into a full-blown problem isn't the fact itself. It's the wanting the situation to be different than it is. Wanting certainty you don't currently have. Wanting to already know how something turns out before it's even finished happening. That wanting has a pull to it, almost like a hook. Once your attention catches on it, the mind starts spinning material to justify the hook, and you're off building, furnishing, moving in. Craving on one side, aversion on the other, and your peace of mind caught in the middle. Getting pulled whichever direction is loudest that day. Waiting on a health result is a plain example. The waiting itself is only waiting. It's the aversion to not knowing that turns 3 days into 3 weeks of rehearsed diagnoses. Craving shows up a little differently, though it's the same hook from the other side. It's replaying a decision you already made, not because there's anything left to decide, but because some part of you is craving the certainty that you got it right, turning one settled choice into an unsettled one, over and over, hoping repetition will eventually deliver the reassurance that a single moment of trust never did. It helps to get specific about what's actually fact and what's story. A fact is small, almost boring. She didn't reply for 6 hours. That's it. That's the whole fact. Everything after that, she's upset with me. She's pulling away. I must have said something wrong in the group chat last week. That's not fact. That's construction. And once you can see the seam between the two, the small, boring fact and the elaborate story sitting on top of it, something loosens. Not completely, but something. How much of what's bothering you right now would survive being written down as just the fact, with the story stripped off? Try it sometime, even just in your head. Most manufactured problems don't hold up very well once you separate the two. Try it with something bigger too. Your manager scheduled a one-on-one with no agenda. That's the fact, a meeting, no agenda. Everything else. I'm getting let go, I've done something wrong, this is the beginning of the end, is a building with no permit, assembled in the 18 minutes between the calendar invite and actually opening your laptop. There's another layer worth naming, one that shows up especially with people you've known a long time. Buddhist practice sometimes talks about meeting each moment with what's called a beginner's mind, approaching what's in front of you as though you're actually seeing it for the first time instead of automatically laying it over a template built from every similar moment before it. Most of us don't do this with the people closest to us. Your partner forgets to text back, and it's not really about tonight. It's about every time you felt forgotten, stacked up and waiting for a new excuse to matter again. Your new colleague gives short answers in a meeting, and somehow that's connected to a boss you had 8 years ago who made you feel invisible. The current person becomes a stand-in for an old case that never got properly closed. They never even auditioned for the part. Even places do this. You dread a family dinner because of what a family dinner used to be 10 Christmases ago, forgetting that your sister isn't 19 anymore, that your father doesn't say the things he used to say, that the room fills up with people who've mostly moved on, except in your head, where it's always still that one December, on a loop. It even happens with people who've genuinely changed. Someone apologizes, actually means it, shows up differently for a year, and you're still relating to the version of them from before, still braced for the old pattern, because some part of you finds it safer to expect the familiar disappointment than to risk trusting the new evidence. Back to the contractor behind your ribs for a second, because there's a detail worth adding. This isn't a slow build. One small addition at a time, it's fast, and it's tall, and it almost never checks the original order first. One short reply comes in around noon, and by evening there's a foundation poured, framing up, walls in, a roof on, and somehow you've already moved in and started paying a mortgage on a property reality never actually approved. Here's the thing, nobody tells this contractor. Life didn't file a permit for most of what gets built in there. The argument didn't get approved by the person you're arguing with. The disaster didn't get approved by whatever actually happens next month. Almost everything on that site went up without a single signature from reality, and yet you're the one who ends up living inside it, paying the heating bill, losing sleep under a roof that was never supposed to exist yet. If it was ever supposed to exist at all. And the site never really goes quiet. There's always a delivery truck idling somewhere, dropping off more material, a comment overheard out of context, a memory that resurfaces for no clear reason, someone's slightly flat tone of voice. Cheap material, most of it. But this contractor isn't picky. Give it almost anything, and it'll find a way to turn it into another wing of the building. Real problems, for all their weight, tend to have edges. A bill gets paid or it doesn't. A diagnosis arrives and then you're dealing with an actual diagnosis, not a hypothetical one. Even grief, brutal as it is, moves slowly, unevenly, but it moves. Manufactured problems don't have that mercy. There's no closing argument, no verdict that sticks, no event to mark the end of it, because nothing actually happened that could be resolved. You can keep the case open indefinitely. Some people do for years on a single sentence someone said once at a dinner party. You know this one, probably. The argument you have in the shower or on the drive to work with someone who isn't there. You say your piece. You imagine their comeback, so you sharpen your next point. By the time the water runs cold, you've won decisively, several times, with excellent points you'll never actually get to use because, and here's the part that should probably bother you more than it does, the other person has no idea any of this is happening. They're not defending themselves anywhere. They're possibly making coffee. You've been in a courtroom with an empty chair for the defense, running both sides of a case nobody else was ever summoned to. This narrator has done this. Recently, in fact, argued an entire, quite compelling case against someone who, as it turned out, had simply misplaced their phone charger and wasn't ignoring anyone. The verdict took 4 days to reach. The correction took about 90 seconds. Or maybe it's quieter than an argument. Maybe it's the way you've already rehearsed your explanation for a decision nobody has challenged yet, why you left the job, why you're not married, why you moved back home at 38. A whole defense prepared and ready to deploy for a courtroom date that was never actually scheduled. You've packed a bag for a trip nobody invited you on, and somehow you're carrying it everywhere, just in case. Or it's the 6 hours of silence from earlier, the one that turned into a whole story about being forgotten, when the actual explanation, 9 times out of 10, is something almost insultingly simple. A dead phone, a long meeting, a nap. Or it's 10 minutes of scrolling through other people's lives, and somewhere between someone's engagement photos and someone else's promotion, you've quietly issued a verdict on your own life behind late, off track, using a formula nobody actually gave you, and a deadline nobody actually set. Your actual life didn't change in those 10 minutes. Only your accounting of it did. None of these required an actual event. Every single one was self-funded, fully built on site, using nothing but a small fact and a large imagination. And once it's built, it doesn't feel invented anymore. It feels like weather, like something that happened to you rather than something you made. Weather, at least, eventually gets forecast correctly. This gets built regardless of the forecast. This isn't an argument for carelessness. Real risks deserve real attention. If the roof is actually leaking, by all means, call someone. This isn't about caring less about your life. It's about no longer prepaying for parts of it that were never actually billed. Buddhist teaching talks a lot about non-attachment, and it gets misunderstood constantly, usually as some kind of emotional shrug, as if you're supposed to stop caring about outcomes altogether. That's not really it. It's closer to this. You can care about what happens without needing to have already decided what it means. You can want a conversation to go well without writing both halves of the script in advance. The attachment worth questioning here isn't to the person, or even to the outcome. It's to your own story about them, the one you built, alone, on a site they never once visited. They're out there living an entire life you have no visibility into, most of it having nothing to do with you at all, while you've cast them as a central character in a drama they never auditioned for and don't know is running. You can send the email without drafting your opponent's rebuttal first. You can wait for test results without living inside 3 different versions of the diagnosis before the doctor's even called. You can let your sister's short reply be a short reply today and deal with tomorrow's version of her, if it ever shows up, tomorrow. You can raise your child without pre-writing the version of their future where everything goes wrong. You can show up to the family gathering without preloading 20 years of ammunition for an argument that might not even start this year. Caring, it turns out, was never the exhausting part. The exhausting part was rehearsing. Most of what exhausts you today was never actually sent to you by today. It's a problem your mind built and moved into early, before life had even finished drawing up the plans, if it was ever going to draw them up at all. None of this changes through sheer willpower, and it definitely doesn't change by someone telling you to just stop overthinking, which is a bit like telling weather to stop. But there are a few small things worth trying, quietly, on your own time, without turning them into one more thing you have to get right. When something starts to feel heavy, try separating it, even just in your head. Here is the fact, in one plain sentence. Here is the story I've built on top of it. Usually, the fact takes about 5 seconds to say out loud. The story takes 20 minutes and involves several people who aren't in the room. This sounds almost too simple to work, and the first few times, it might not feel like much. But most manufactured problems are shy. Written down plainly, next to the fact that supposedly caused them, they tend to look considerably smaller than they felt at midnight. Notice when you're defending yourself against an accusation nobody has made. If you catch yourself rehearsing an explanation, ask quietly, "Has anyone actually asked me this?" If the answer is no, you're allowed to set the defense down. The trial's been postponed indefinitely, mostly because it was never actually on the calendar to begin with. When you notice you're mid-argument with someone who isn't in the room, you can stop not by winning faster, but by simply leaving. Say it plainly, even just to yourself. "I'm arguing with someone who can't hear me." Then put the kettle on, or open a window, or do anything with your hands. The argument doesn't need a winner. It needs you to leave the room it's happening in. And maybe once a day, usually toward evening, it's worth asking one honest question. What is my actual life asked of me today? Not this year, not the worst-case version of next month. Today. The list is almost always shorter than the one your mind's been quietly running in the background. You won't catch it every time. Some nights the contractor will get a full building up before you even notice the truck arrive. And that's all right too. Nobody's asking you to become someone who never manufactures a problem again. Just someone who catches it a little sooner each time and needs a little less evidence to let themselves off the hook. If this pattern runs deep enough that it's shaping most of your days, and quiet reflection alone isn't touching it, that's worth taking to a therapist or a doctor, not as a failure, just as the next sensible step. Some structures are too big to take apart alone, and there's nothing weak about calling in help to do it properly. For most people, though, nothing here is broken and in need of fixing. It's more a matter of catching an old habit a little earlier in its cycle before the kettle's been screaming a full minute instead of just starting to hum. That contractor behind your ribs probably isn't going anywhere. Some part of you will likely always be quick to build, quick to fill a gap with a story before the silence gets too uncomfortable to sit inside. But you get to decide what gets greenlit. Not every fact needs a building on top of it. Some facts can just sit there, small and plain and unfinished, without you rushing to add 4 floors and a roof before anyone's even confirmed there's a lot to build on in the first place. There's a particular kind of relief in an empty lot. Not the relief of a problem solved, but the quieter relief of a problem that was never actually there to begin with, once you stop paying rent on it. Most people spend years managing buildings that never needed to go up. You get to stop managing a few of yours, starting with whichever one is loudest tonight. A short reply can just be a short reply. A quiet colleague can just be quiet. A decision you made can exist without a defense team on standby, waiting for a case that may never be brought. Life will hand you real problems. It always does, sooner or later. And when it does, you'll know. Because you won't have to go looking for them. They'll come with actual details attached, actual dates, actual names. Until then, you're allowed to let the lot sit empty. Grass growing over a foundation that was never poured is not a loss. It's just an afternoon you got to keep. Tomorrow morning, you might catch yourself doing it again by 9. Losing an argument nobody started. Forgiving an apology nobody offered. That's fine. That's just an old habit, reaching for the tools out of muscle memory. You don't have to shut the whole operation down overnight. You just have to notice the truck pulling up before the first brick gets laid and ask, gently, did today actually order this one? You are not required to stop thinking or stop caring or stop noticing things. You're only being asked to check every so often whether what you're carrying was actually handed to you or whether you picked it up yourself out of habit and started walking before anyone confirmed it was yours to carry. Somewhere tonight, there's a version of you that goes to bed having built nothing extra. Not because nothing happened today, plenty happened, but because what happened got to stay its actual size. Filed under today. Closed, no appeal pending. That version of you sleeps a little heavier. It's not a permanent state. It's just worth remembering it's available on the nights the contractor's truck starts idling outside again. If there's one thing you're building right now that today never actually ordered, you might name it in a single sentence below, not to solve it, just to see it sitting outside your head for once, where it's usually a lot smaller than it felt in there. And if this is the kind of quiet you're looking for on the nights your mind won't stop building, you're welcome to stay and keep coming back.